Hey, I'm sorry. This is must be the sixth or seventh time I'm trying to do this. I really tried yesterday, but my air conditioner broke and they were reinstalling a new air conditioner yesterday in my house, and it was very busy and people kept coming in and out. I kept trying to do it, and then in the evening I tried again, and I was all dressed up and I was trying to focus, and then people would come in the middle and okay, bye mom, going, or I'm this and that. Everybody was just talking and it was impossible. I said, you know what, forget it, I'm gonna try again tomorrow. So I'm not dressed up, and I'm just kind of going shopping before Shabbos, but I have to do a little piece on the parsha, and about prayer, which we said we're going to talk about, because we started learning She'arim B'Tfilah, so a little bit about prayer at the end. Okay, did you guys hear that speech, Binyamin Netanyahu's speech, Bibi? Wow. Can we just take a minute and just appreciate how insanely amazing he was? He's just amazing. And it's not about him. It's what he said. Well, of course it's about him because he said it so well. But here in Israel, unfortunately, two Jews, three opinions. Everybody's always arguing. Everybody's always terribilizing the situation, saying how, oh, but there are still hostages. Yes, there are still hostages. And yes, the war is still going on. And yes, there are soldiers dying. And yes, things are very, very hard. And yet, could we just take a minute to be proud of the Jewish people that we have? First of all, this prime minister, oh my God, you Americans, with all due respect, could you imagine? This is what a prime minister looks like. This is what a president should be like. Are you guys jealous? You should be. I mean, but this is your prime minister also, because you are Jews and you belong to the land of Israel, the state of Israel, and it's much more your state than America is. So you don't have to feel so terrible that you have seriously freaking, oh my God, the candidates that you have. But let's not be political. But let's take pride. Let's take a minute to just recalibrate and realize that all of a sudden, for a minute, okay, for 54 minutes, which is insane. How amazing is that, to hold the world's attention, or whoever was listening, and the Congress's attention for 54 minutes? I think there were 40 times that the entire audience got up, stood up, and applauded. So it's for those minutes, all of a sudden, we remembered what we're here for, what morality is, what is good, what is bad, and what this is all about, and that we are on the side of good. It just clarified, and things are not as terrible as we thought, meaning we think the world is such a crazy, lying, pathetic, freaky, confusing world, and that everyone's against us. Well, you know what? It seemed like they basically deep down understand, most of the people, that we are right. We are actually right. We are on the side of good. It clarified all of a sudden for people what's good and what's evil, and that we are on the side of good. So I just want everybody to take a minute and just be proud. And with a beautiful segue, thank you Hashem, that just came up to me right now. That is what happened in our Parshat Pinchas. So Pinchas, there was a very, very miserable situation going on in the Jewish people, and people were dying. People were dying in a plague, and not for the right ideals, not for the right reasons. They were not dying in a war. They were dying in a plague because they had been sinning terribly. Because in last week's parsha, as a result of Bilam and Balak kind of not succeeding in their plan to eradicate the Jewish people through cursing them, because it's Hashem loves these people and he's not going to let you curse them. So they came up with another plan, and this was almost good, almost successful as far as they were concerned, because what they decided is, let's cause the Jewish men to sin with the daughters of Midian, with the women, Midian, with the Midianite women, who, along with seducing them to have sexual relations with them, also seduced them to worship Avodah Zarah. They had these little idols that they were carrying with them, and they incited the Jewish people to commit idol worship as well as adultery. And all these Jewish men were sinning. And as a result of that, Hashem brought a plague on the Jewish people. And so they were starting to die. And at the crazy crux of the situation was that a head of a tribe, a nasi, a president of a tribe, like one of the big sages of the generation, came up. His name was, what's his name? I forgot his name. Zimri. He got up and along with a Midianite woman, Cosbi, actually were having illicit relations in front of the entire congregation of the Jewish people, standing in front of Moshe, in front of the tent of meeting, in front of the tabernacle where Hashem's presence should be felt. And everyone, it says, Vehema bochim, petach ohel moed. Everyone was immobilized with like shock and humiliation and bochim. They were just crying. They were just crying, including Moshe, it seemed like. Moshe didn't know what to do. Everyone was so paralyzed with this feeling of, oh my God, this is a hopeless, powerless, shameful situation. And we just don't know what to do about it. We're just like, there's no way to fix this situation. This is just gone beyond any possible ability to solve. This is crazy. And out of that desperation, despair, humiliation, degradation, like people were in such a horrible, horrible state. And out of that comes Pinchas, and with a seriously passionate, violent, perhaps fanatical act, kills the president of the tribe and kills the Midianite woman. And then it says, Vate'atzer hamagefa. And the plague stopped. And all of a sudden, faith was restored in humankind. The balance was reinstated between good and evil. And all of a sudden, the Jewish people kind of woke up and like, oh, yes, right. This is right. This is wrong. This is what has to be done. And then everything went back to normal, and Hashem forgave the Jewish people. And what happened is that to an extent, it seems like that Pinchas was doing something that in the eyes of the world probably was not very politically correct, and all of us, I even have a hard time sometimes saying like, what? Like you took a spear and you killed two people, and that's like called Briti Shalom? You get a covenant of peace for that? You get a prize, a Nobel Prize for peace? What? How does that work? Like it seems so violent. And yet, this is what Pinchas got. This is his reward. You reinstated peace between God and the Jewish people. You reinstated the balance between good and evil. You woke everybody up. And then Netivot Shalom says specifically that this is the Yetzer Hara's worst thing, that the Yetzer Hara does this to people when they sin, especially in the areas of sexual immorality and idolatry, that they feel worthless, they feel despair, they feel depressed, they feel so bad about themselves after sinning that they just think, not worth it. I'm worthless. I'm never going to do anything good, so it's just not worth trying because I've lost it already. I've lost my connection to Hashem, and I'm going to get karate. I've had girls tell me, forget it. I'm done. I'm finished. I might as well not be religious because I've sinned in this area. So this, says Netivot Shalom, is the biggest trick of the Yetzer Hara. He gets you more than it takes, more than he actually gets you to sin. He gets you to sin in the area of sexual immorality and possibly idolatry, to put you in the dumps, to put you in a place with your self-esteem and your self-respect, and you lose it. You lose it, and you lose all ability to get out of the pit. You get into a pit as a result of these things. And that's what the Yetzer Hara is trying to do. And that's what the Midianites tried to do, to make them so depressed that they will never want to fix anything, to get back into life, to put their one foot in front of the other, brush themselves off, pray to God, do tshuva, and move on. That's what Hashem wants. And that's what Pinchas was able to restore. And that's why he deserves that present, that prize of being a Kohen. Being a Kohen means to be a person of love. We know that Aaron represents love, represents chesed. It's interesting because he did such a strong act. It seems like he would get the gift of gevura. He would get the gift of strength, but instead he gets the gift of chesed, of kahuna, of being a Kohen, and of being in a loving relationship with the Jewish people and between Hashem and the Jewish people. And basically he is a man of peace, because he was able to just like wake up the Jewish people that no matter what, you guys are kids of Hashem. You are sons and daughters of Hashem. Hashem loves you. And so just move on. Get up, do tikkun, fix things, and go back to being the amazing, proud Jewish people that you are, because you're children of Hashem. What does Hashem want more than to just get his children back? And it just doesn't matter where you're at. And so that's why it's like, it was that moment of like, oh, clarity. Oh, this is what the Jewish people are about. Right. Okay, let's go back. And this is why we have to enemize the Midianites. It says Tzaror et Midianim in this week's Parsha. You have to create enemies of the Midianim. It doesn't actually say to kill them, and that's in next week's Parsha. We actually fight against Midian. But in this week's Parsha, make them your enemy, because what they did to you is worse than anything, because they demoralized you. They made you feel that you're worthless, that it's not worth getting up and going back to trying to work on yourself and trying to fix things up and trying to reapproach Hashem in prayer and in tshuva, right? So they did the worst thing, and you have to enemize that. Is that a word? I don't know if that's a word. You have to make them your enemy. That's what the word tzaror means. Make sure that you remember that this is the worst thing that you could do to a person, is demoralize them. Not only make them sin, but if you actually afterwards kind of give them the sense that it's not worth changing and it's not worth reinstating yourself in the relationship with Hashem, that's the worst thing. Make sure you remember that. So to each and every one of us, that's our lesson today, and a little bit about tefillah, because really it's also a segue, because Netivot Shalom also likes to say that whoever feels that they have done something that is so bad that they can't get up the next morning and pray to Hashem and talk to Hashem, they don't get what it means to be a Jew. That's not Jewish. And what She'arim B'Tfilah says, Rav Pinkus, that we're reading, that we're learning now, said something beautiful. He said, in general, the worst thing you can do is not give somebody the time of day. Like if somebody actually makes an appointment with you, like let's say you're a doctor and you have a lot of people waiting online outside, and somebody makes an appointment with you and they sit down with you, and then you're constantly looking at your watch and you're constantly like rushing them out, and you don't give them the time to listen to them, that is just seriously the worst thing you could do. And those of you who are married, if your husband wants to sit and talk to you and you're just like looking at your phone or saying, yeah, I don't really have so much time, like, can we just like get this over with? Like, that's horrific, okay? So, and we all know that. We all know that when our husbands don't listen to us, when somebody just doesn't give us the time, that's the worst thing you could do. So too Hashem. If you already made an appointment with Hashem to pray, to get up and speak to him, and you have Hashem on the line, Hashem is listening, right? Hashem came, right? You made an appointment. And now you are just like kind of putting him on hold, or just rushing through your prayers, and you're not really thinking about what you're saying, and you're just kind of looking at your watch. Did you ever do that? Did you ever feel like you're actually praying looking at your watch? Like, that's so chutzpah. It really is. And so it's just a little trick that he was saying, or a tip that he was giving us, that we need to give time to prayer. We need to give prayer time. That's how we become experts at anything. We need to practice it. We need to be good at it. And it means taking the time. And so if it means waking up a little bit earlier, giving yourself 10 minutes more in the day before you have to run out, and don't look at your watch, and just let it go, let it flow, let it like really, give it some time. All right, and realize that you're creating a relationship, that you are approaching Hashem, that you made an appointment, and you are giving this your full attention. Have a great